Thoughts to Build on by KOPMEYER, 22. Chapter 22. The Epidemic of Hate. It is inspiring to witness a community, and sometimes an entire nation, unite to combat or alleviate an epidemic disease. The mobilization of all necessary resources is carried out with urgency and complete disregard for cost. There is a pervasive spirit of selfless sacrifice. Recently, in Britain, due to an outbreak of hoof-and-mouth disease, 450,000 fine cattle were destroyed by their owners. Entire herds, representing nearly the total assets of thousands of cattlemen, were slaughtered and lost completely. Everywhere in the world, epidemics ranging from malaria or typhoid to measles or mumps are tackled with organized urgency. Cost is not a consideration. Sacrifices are routine and universal. Massive assistance flows in from neighboring and even distant communities. If the epidemic is severe enough, other nations, including those considered unfriendly, send aid. But all this urgency, this sympathetic assistance, this total disregard of cost, seems to apply only to epidemics of physical disease. What about epidemics of mental, emotional, spiritual disease? This nation, and the entire world, is engulfed in an epidemic of hate. If we knew as much about mental health as we know about physical health, we would consider an epidemic of hate to be as dangerous as an epidemic of malaria or typhoid. First, let us be sure we are not setting up a straw man with which to joust. Is there really an epidemic of hate abroad in the world? The evidence is conclusive. The supporting facts are clear, and everywhere. We are not approaching a crisis. We are in the midst of one. An epidemic of hate. Hate is not a physical disease. It is a mental, emotional, spiritual disease and must be treated as such. The physical damage is the result, not the disease itself, yet most proposed cures would treat the physical results of the epidemic of hate and not its mental, emotional, spiritual causes. One of the problems is that there is not just one hate, but an all-pervading complex of different hates interwoven in the fabric of our lives. Each hate has a different cause, which requires a different cure. The hate of one group is the exact opposite of the hate of a different and, perhaps, opposite group. And there we find a basic cause which may provide a partial beginning for a cure. It is in the confrontation between different and opposing groups or individuals. Hate arises from the very fact of their being different and opposed. There is a natural tendency for this to happen, and understanding this fact leads to partial solutions to the problem. There are three clear solutions to the hate that results because individuals, groups, or nations are different and, to a large extent, opposite. 1. Understand that being different and opposite does not always, and need not ever, cause hate. 2. Seek, recognize, and emphasize similarities. 3. Tolerate differences. These three actions would at least provide a starting point toward reducing the epidemic of hate that now so completely surrounds us. But it would be only a beginning. There are so many hates, for so many reasons, among so many individuals, groups, and nations, that this brief chapter can only highlight the existence of their epidemic proportions and the seriousness of the consequences. Since the purpose of this book is only to provide material for stimulated thought and to encourage each reader to pursue such thoughts to their own conclusions, it is appropriate to leave this problem with you to think about and to act upon as you choose. And so I turn it over to you, with this final suggestion. An epidemic of hate cannot exist in an atmosphere of goodwill. Perhaps our first task must be the creation, somehow, of a deep, sincere, all-pervading attitude of goodwill among all individuals, groups, and nations. You may remember hearing that this idea was expressed before, about 2000 years ago. It promised then, as it does now, that when there is goodwill among people, we will have peace on earth.